I'm going to introduce Michael Kirk. I'm not sure if he's in yet. He'll let me know when he is. Yeah, there, Mikey. He'll come in shortly, I'm sure. Now, this guy, just so you guys know, I'll give you a quick intro. I recruited Michael to work at Bresic Whitney, I think about 12 years ago, 10 years ago. He'll confirm that. He was working at Bell Surry Hills, and he was a really good, straight up guy. I liked him. He presented well. He had good energy. He was working in the Surry Hills area. I took him to dinner and I said, mate, why don't you come across to Bresic Whitney? We spoke about it, and a couple of weeks later, a couple of months later, he came across. He worked in Will Phillips' team early on, which I think was really good for him. A lot of you would know Will Phillips, Alex's brother. He did probably about, you there, Mikey?
Here I'm here.
How many years, welcome, mate. How many years did you do with Will Phillips?
5 years.
So he did 5 years with Will Phillips' team, and he was his senior associate, if that's what you want to call it. And they were a gun team. Like there was McClay was in there for a while, then he pushed out. So then Michael came in, and they were a gun team, and they took market share in Surry Hills, Darlinghurst, Redfern. And Michael really did really well with buyers, and he was excellent. He applied himself. Michael has 2 kids. I think it's good to know. He owns a couple of properties. He's successful. He's on track this year. How many sales did you do last year, Mikey?
80 or thereabouts.
So 80 sales last year, mainly Surry Hills, Redfern, and neighbouring suburbs. He's the strongest agent at Bresic Whitney in the east now, and he's kind of either like second or third in the group. I think Liddell's 1, Kirky would be 2 or 3. Michael became a standalone agent in what year, Mike?
It was the year of COVID. Was it 2020, 2019, 2020?
Yeah, 2020, you're right. Okay, so 2020 became an agent. Do you remember how many sales you did in 2020?
Would have been. I had a fairly busy start. I think I sold over 50 in the first year as a standalone.
Yep. When did you put on your first associate?
So I think it was 2019. I went out on my own, had a fairly good start for 12 months. We've got good support here at Bresic. So I did well there. I brought Dave on in 2020. He's been with me now for this is his 4th year with me.
Right.
Our transaction volume did pick up. I think we did between 60 and 70. I brought Trish on in year 3. And this is coming up to her 3rd year now.
Yep.
And we're on track at the moment. I think we're sitting on around 40, 45 or 46 transactions since Jan this year.
Yeah. So it's really good growth is what I'm saying for Michael and his team. Incremental. So he's on track. I'll work with Michael, obviously. He's on track to do 100 sales this year. And he's on 46 now, Mikey?
Yep.
Yep. How many have you done in May? Because we're halfway through.
I think we're going to hit 8 today.
So already halfway through May, he's on 8 sales. So I don't have his numbers here for every month, but I think it was like 2, 12 in February, 10. Like he's hitting double-digit sales every month. So he's on track to do 100 plus this year. Really impressive. He's getting good input from David, who's his more senior associate. Yep. He's got Trish, who's an amazing personal assistant. And then he's also just this year employed a second associate, Michael, who is?
Nathan Anderson.
Right. So another young, hungry, enthusiastic agent who's joined the team. He's only 19 or 20 years old.
Yeah, 20, 21.
20. So, and look, Michael's stuck with coaching. He's always had goals. And now we're going to talk to Michael now for the next period. I've got some great questions. I loved the last session that we had, guys, where there were some questions for James. I think we had James Ball on, and there were some questions there for him during it. By all means, feel free to ask Michael questions. Mikey, how many years have you been doing this?
Well, 29. I was 29. I was just reflecting on it because obviously we're catching up today. By the way, I haven't prepared very well, so hopefully we get all the information across. But I was 29. I was personal training. I came from a banking background. I got into personal training. And when I was 29, I think Sean Poach from PPD got into real estate. He said he was enjoying it. And yeah, I just made the decision to transition across. And Mark Foy from Bell Property gave me an opportunity at the time, who had also learnt his practice through you guys. And Charles Toomer was there as well. So came across there in, I think it was 2013.
Yeah.
And then came across to Bresic Whitney 4 or 5 years after that.
Yeah. So how was the first few years, if you recall back then when you came from personal training, you had no real estate background?
Yeah.
What did you, I know you said you had some good training, but what were you focused on in the first few years?
Look, I loved it. I think Mark actually gave me one of your CDs. I don't know if there was I don't know what it was called at the time. There was a CD that you had that I used to play in the car religiously before work, and then Alex Phillips had one as well. But I mean, really, Charles Toomer and myself, we would get in the office at 7:30, most mornings. We'd have all the emails and everything cleared out first thing in the morning. I always had a target. I would try and hit, say, 20 call connects before lunchtime, and always hit 30. It was just, that was my target back then. And, I was really disciplined about hitting those numbers and adding people to my database and the buyer servicing and whatnot.
Yeah. And so who would you call, Mikey, in the first few years? It was
Well,
just
I was
callbacks
I
or?
was lucky. Yeah, I was lucky because Mark was probably doing 70 or 80 deals a year at that point. He was pretty well established. And Mark was excellent. I learned a lot through him. And I was basically managing campaigns for him pretty much from the get-go. So I was doing open callbacks. I was doing old OFI books. So Charles and whatnot would give me their old OFI books, and I'd call through those religiously, add the people to my database, etc.
Good on you. And if you think back, were you just focused on a suburb, or were you focused on helping people? How did you prioritize who you called and where you spent
I would say I was focused suburb wise, like Darlinghurst, because that's where Mark was focused. I was Darlinghurst, Surry Hills, and a little bit of Redfern because Charles was selling in Redfern at the time.
Yeah.
I've always, sorry.
You go.
I was just going to say I've always been sort of stuck with those sort of 3 core suburbs, sort of Surry, Darlow, Redfern, and then bits and pieces on the outside.
Yeah. What was the hard, as much you said you really enjoyed the early days? What were the hard things about the early days when you reflect back on the first few years?
Look, it's just learning the practice, like going through the losses and getting beaten on listings. Like we're up against Bresic Whitney, and you'd come up against Will or yourself, and it was like, okay, here we go again. So we were losing. I would say 80% of the listings I would go into, I was losing at the time, probably more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just a pause on that. I can't believe how far you've come. Do you feel successful now?
I feel like I could do a shitload better. But I'm enjoying it. Like it's a lot of fun now. I probably feel more motivated to do better now than I have in a while, because we're growing, and I can see, I don't know, I just feel like we can still grow a lot more. So do I feel like I'm doing a lot better? I do, but I feel like I can do better.
Yeah, good on you. I think because of the stage that you're at, it gets really fun. Like if once you start doing the numbers that you're doing, of course it's fun because you're always doing sales, people are ringing you, and the commission's great. And so with this group, some of this group are doing some really big numbers. Some are still starting out, or they're 20 or 15 or 25 sales a year. If someone's selling 15, 20 or 25 sales a year, what's your advice to
Mm.
them, mate?
I think what would be my advice? I mean, I think it's whatever you're doing, it's just being disciplined and consistent with your practice. I think if you're doing 15, 20, 25, I mean, you're still meeting a lot of people at different open homes, and you know, trying to probably leverage some of the buys that you're meeting to get into off-market deals and things like that, is an opportunity to grow the transaction volumes. But it's probably just consistency, I'd say.
Yeah, so you got to stick with it. You
Yeah.
used to do a lot of buyer work. Do you still do
Yeah.
that?
Probably more so now than than
Yeah.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I want you to explain to the guys when I say buyer work, you're keeping it. What would David, for example, would he keep a hot buyer list?
Yes. All
And
of
how
us
many?
religiously have to keep a hot buy list. Yeah.
Okay. So you're
Yeah.
keeping a hot buyer list, and then how often would you call your hot buyers?
Every day, nearly every day.
So you're looking at that list and you're calling those buyers to see where they're up to.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Because if they're proper qualified hot buyers, like for instance, 597 Burke Street, we sold a couple of weeks ago. There was 4 registered parties, obviously 3 missed out. The direct underbidders bid up to 3.1 million on that house. The couple have just both sold a property each, and they want to buy yesterday. As soon as we sold that, I got them through 124 Reservoir Street photo shoot that I had coming up. They made an offer of 3.13 on that. They missed out. We just sold that house last night to someone else. I took them through another house on Riley Street off market last night. So buyers that are sort of, that active, qualified, they'll sign a contract if the right property presents itself. I'm calling them every single day.
Gotcha.
Because it's also, if I get called into a property to do an appraisal, to be able to walk in and articulate that buyer and know exactly what they've bid on, exactly what they've made an offer on their situation, that is the best form of prospecting.
Yeah, my prediction with this group is that our buyer work's just not to the level that it should be, and that I hope it can get to. So that I'm really glad that we're talking about that. Some of my agents have said that it's buyers are getting a bit flaky, that agents are finding it hard to get buyers to commit, or they're making offers and flaking, or they're not motivated. What would you say to that?
Oh, I mean, yeah, that might be the case, but there's every single campaign you run, there are always buyers that have missed out on a property and they want to buy something. I mean, no, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not experiencing that at the moment. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, there's always going to be buyers that flake, but you're saying you've got to
Of course. I mean, I put them to the side. I'm not talking to those buyers.
Yeah.
And I'm ruthless with that with Nathan that's just joined the team. So every week we will go through the buyers that he's talking to. And he has to tell me what, like that buyer there that you're dealing with, that you just took that property through, what did they last bid on? What's their situation? If he can't tell me what they've bid on, what their situation is, then they're going off the list if they're not, responsive and active. There are definitely active, but there's always active buyers out there that want to buy, and it's just a matter of you find them, you stick them on your list, and you stick with those buyers.
Yeah. What are the key questions you're asking at an open home to a buyer? If I was a buyer, what are the key questions you're asking?
If someone comes through an open home, I just ask, but what brings you here today? Sometimes they look at me and go, why are you asking that? Of course, I'm here to look to buy, but it's just, I ask that question because they'll either tell me, no, we just live down the street. Cool. We'll speak to you later. It's an owner. We can put a note there. If they're a buyer, it's, how long have you guys been looking for? What was the last house that you bid on? when are you trying to secure a house buy? Is there any sort of timeline you're working around? Just your core questions.
Yeah. If a buyer says, if someone says I own in the suburb, but I'm not looking to buy, what would you say? What would you do?
Are
What
you
would you
are
do
you
if I said, oh, look, mate, I own in Surrey Hills, but I'm not looking to buy, what would you do with me?
Look, I'd say, did you want me to have a chat to you later about your own home? Are you here, researching to understand the value of your place? No, we're not. We're just having a look. Okay, cool. Look, I'm going to focus on, if it's okay, can I give you a call, next week to discuss your place, see if we can help you further? If they say, look, we are thinking about selling, we just want to, we're having a look at a few different houses, similar sort of thing. Okay, great. Whereabouts are you guys? I might get a bit of their information and then, set up a time to go and, meet with them next week, but not sort of force the issue and try and book an appraisal at the open home.
Okay. So you're a bit more measured and you'll just
Yes.
follow through.
Yes.
Your numbers are pretty phenomenal. So you did about 2 mil last year. You're on track to do 3 mil or more this year. Is there days that you don't want to go to work or that you don't enjoy doing what you're doing?
I would say there's days that I'm tired, of course. Look, most days I want to come in, but of course, there's days when you're tired and probably haven't got the energy that you want. I might come in and just set myself a small target to do something that day and not put too much pressure on myself.
Good one. That's really good. You've been actively building your database. How many owners have you got on your database?
I haven't had a look recently, but I think I've got around 1,800 or thereabouts on my database.
For everybody, that's a really good number. And how do you manage that and how do you communicate with that database?
Look, I'm pretty much, if we sell something, I'm calling, relevant streets around a sale. If we list something, same thing again. If they're also getting my weekly market report. They'll get a text message from me if I sell something significant or what I deem significant. And they'll definitely get an email every time something sells as well. So there's call, text, phone, email, and the weekly market report.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, every single time we sell something, we do 1,000 DLs to the suburb. Every time we list something, we do the same thing as well. And then we do a quarterly.
So you are actually sending out 1,000 DLs.
Oh, I pay for that myself, and I do that every single time we sell something.
And how much does that cost? And if you don't mind, how come you've stuck doing that sort
of? Look, I actually don't expect too much from it. It's more just an awareness. I just want my name to be front and center. So I've made that commitment. I think the start of last year, I only started doing that. And it was just to add another layer to what I was doing. I pay for that. I think it's not a lot. It's like $230, including Ray that drops them off.
Yep.
But I have got the occasional.
So just for the group, that's a small DL card, which is just listed or just sold with Michael's details on.
Yeah, it's not a letter from the print. It's not a letter from our printer. It's professionally done every time I sell something. And then I also do a quarterly market report to Surry Hills as well and Redfern.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Your prospecting, that's obviously changed over the years.
Yeah.
What was your best form of prospecting before you put the team on when you were a standalone agent, mate?
It's just what I just said then. I mean, if someone in the company sold something, because obviously I didn't have the volume back then. If McClay sold something, if Will sold something, if you sold something, I would pick up the phone and I would call, a street or the relevant streets around that sale. I'd call my pipeline. I always just sent the sale as if I just say, we have just sold another thing. So it was almost like I had sold the property.
Yeah. So see, Ty and Christian, that's relevant for you guys. For Nick, Ben Casson and Nick Keno, that's relevant for you guys as well. These are sales in your company that you can prospect around. So that's really important. That's good.
Yeah.
Same as Matty Bell. Same thing with you, but you do
Yeah.
enough of your own sales. That's good to know, actually. Let's talk about the callbacks. Who's doing them and how important are they?
They're very important. Dave does a lot of them. I mean, it just depends on what the property is. I know Nathan does callbacks now as well for me. Depending on what the property is, I will do it, Dave will do it, Nathan will do it.
And are you doing them Saturday afternoon, Mondays, Tuesdays, or when are you doing them?
Okay, look, we do Saturday afternoons occasionally. Only if there's someone we feel like we need to connect with before Monday.
Yep.
We will do that. But otherwise, I mean, look, we're Monday, Tuesdays the callbacks.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your view on goals and goal setting, and how close are you to those?
Goals for me, I choose, which you're aware. Like, I don't like to have too many goals. I just like to have maybe 3 big nuggets in a year. Which for me at the moment, it's obviously hitting a certain amount of transactions. It's paying down mortgage, and doing a renovation, and they're the 3 things that I've got a goal for this year.
With your holidays.
So, and holidays, of course. Yeah. I just find if I've got too many goals, I lose focus, or I just sort of, if one's getting neglected, then I feel like I'm letting myself down. So I just sort of have the 3 big ones that I focus on.
Yeah. And you're doing really well with that too. Mate, with the listing, let's just talk about listing. So you get a listing call. Let's say you're behind, okay, which a lot of these guys might be. So let's assume it's not a really good client who loves Michael Kirk and loves Bressic Whitney. Let's say it's someone who's thinking about listing with one of your competitors.
Yeah.
How do you approach that?
Ask as many questions as I can.
Can you give us some of those questions, Mike?
Okay. Well, I'll give you an example of one. Bell was in it, Ray White was in it. None of us really. I mean, Ray White were the most relevant to them because their friends had sold with them, but they still wanted to get 3 agents in.
Yep.
And I would just ask questions. I mean, who do you feel like? Do you have a strong preference at the moment for an agent? They might say,
yeah, I do. I like Ray White.
okay. And any particular reason, you feel like Ray White would be, the best suited?
Well, he's been speaking to me for about 4 years.
Okay. Yep. Fair enough. And do you feel like they get a better outcome in the area?
They sell quite a lot.
Yep. Okay. And you feel like that will get you the best price for the property?
That's what they're saying.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. They do sell quite a lot in the area. And is there any particular reason that you've called myself in to come and meet with you guys?
No, we met you guys at the open house there on Burke Street, so we thought we'd have you in. We know your company. Okay.
So I guess if obviously Ray White do sell quite a lot in the area, and you that's they're a preference at the moment. In terms of it's a big decision for you guys. It's obviously selling a $2 million house. What is going to be the most important thing? What are you guys looking for out of the selling agent to represent your home?
We want to trust them, and we want to obviously get a
good price. Okay, perfect. Well, that's excellent. Look, I'm really looking forward to coming to meet with you guys. I can discuss the sales that I've had that you might not be aware of, and we can go over everything in more detail.
Fantastic. And you'll then send them what?
And then I'll send them. So at the moment, I send an email directly after confirming that what time we're gonna meet. It'll have a list of all of my sales for 2024 that are probably it just depends on where and what it is, but typically Might be relevant sales in surrounding suburbs or just a list of all of my sales for 2024. I'll introduce them to each member of my team. I'll just have a link to Trish, to Dave, to Nathan, and a quick brief on what each of their roles are.
Yes.
I'll have my, I might have, say, my number one ranking on REA for Surry Hills. I might include that with some of my, they can read some of my reviews if they want to. And then I also just have a quick thing about Bresic Whitney. And then we, set up the meeting.
So then you meet with them. And do you reappoint? Do you offer to get buyers through because you're behind?
I will always, and this is important and something I always speak about with Dave, I will find out what time the other agents and when they are meeting the other agents. And as best I can, I'll try to be the last agent in there. And if I'm not the last agent in there, I would try to reappoint.
You find that gives you an advantage at the
100%. 100%. I mean, I personally do. Do. It's my preference, but that's usually I would prefer to go in at the end. And it's not to try and slam dunk them on the spot. It's just that they've obviously met with the other agents. I can sort of pick their brain on what's come up, and we can deal with it on the spot rather than me meet with them and then have to deal with it after.
Very good. That's great. Any questions, guys, as we go? Bear in mind, he did 2 million last year. He's on track to do over 3 mil. I've seen your question, Ben, which I'm going to ask Michael now. If there's any other questions, guys, please reach out. But I'm finding this quite helpful. Just on your team structure, Ben Manalitzis, Benny, what's your question there, mate?
Thanks for your time, Michael. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
In terms of your team, if I can ask, it sounds like you've got 2 PAs, is that right, or agents assisting you?
So Trish manages our team. She's phenomenal. So she does, or like literally, if I go in and list a property, I'll tell them that you're going to speak to Trish between now and getting this property on the market, and I will drop out of the communication with them. I might have a conversation here and there, and I'll say that myself, David and Nathan will start calling and dealing with buyers on the property, but pre-sale is Trish. David's a senior agent in his own right, so he lists and sells on his own, but he would be, front and center at all open homes. And then Nathan's primary role is buyer servicing at the moment for me.
So Benny, 1 PA, 1 and 2 associates, and obviously one's been there long with him. By the way, his number 1 associate, mate, lists and sells 3 or 4 properties a month himself. So that helps.
He does.
Team's numbers.
So I might have said that the wrong way. With the 2 associates that you have within your team that are, in their own right, listing and selling agents, did you recruit them and train them up, or does that, I guess where I'm getting at with it, within my team, the 2 people that I have probably just helping nurture my own business rather than getting more business, if that makes sense. Is that organic that they've started to bring business into your team, or how did you set that up?
Basically, I'll go back to when I started. I had 2, Will Phillips and Mark Foy were both very generous with the way that I was introduced to real estate. So it was basically came in, they would list a property and I'd ran the campaign, did all the callbacks. If someone was a seller from that callback book, I could list it. It was my listing from the get-go. And it's the same structure that I've had with Dave and Nathan. So Dave, both of them came from zero experience, or pretty much zero experience. And Dave came on first, obviously. He took to it quite quickly, but he would, if I listed a property and he ran that callback book and there was a seller out of it, it was his listing. And then he just organically grew his own database. And the kind of agents within my team structure is how it's set up.
Yeah. And I would
if
just
that answers the question.
Yeah, and just further to that, Benny, like if you look at all the super teams, because like Kirk, he's going to do 100 sales this year or more, there's probably about 10 agents I work with that are going to do 100 sales or more. They're all they're like, there's definitely one or two people within their team who are contributing 10 to 30 listings and sales a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, Nick Kennan, who's in this group, works with Nick Wise. Wise is on track to do 100 sales this year. Keno's probably going to contribute somewhere between 20 and 30 himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just how the super teams work now. The advantage to Nick or David staying in Michael's team is they're getting admin support, they're getting mentoring, their commissions go up, they're part of a team, there's structure. Because if Nick went out and became an agent on his own, which he could, he then has to go and catch and kill on his own. He's not part of a team and he's not getting that support. So for you guys, and so it's same as Dave. So like McClay, for example, has got 3 agents that work within his team. They're all legit agents, but they work in his team because they're getting mentoring, they're getting support, they're part of something good, they're always meeting people. Like, they don't want to go out and be a standalone agent because they can see the benefit of remaining in the team. And that's where a lot of the business, that's where a lot of these super teams are going now. So for you, you might just want to think about what is the role that your associates are playing. Michael did really well. He was just always really good at connecting buyers. If an associate's good at connecting buyers, they're going to be a good agent.
Oh, yeah. It's for me, it is when they first start, I've told both of them, Dave and Nath, go and make as many calls as you can, run my things. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, but the core, like the fundamental that they have to get is the qualification and understanding who is a legit buyer, who is not, and why is that person here. And Nathan sits next to me and he gets roused on every single day. If he says to me, oh, I'm taking this buyer through, they're a really good buyer, and then he can't tell me what they're bid on, why are they a good buyer, Nathan? Why are they a good buyer? Why are they coming through? Why do you think, why are you spending time there? He's got to be able to say to me that, if I take them through, I think they're going to make an offer. You know what I mean? Like, it's the qualification side of it is like first and foremost for me.
Does that make sense, Ben?
Yeah, it's really helpful. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate your time.
I think for a lot of the agents here, their buyer work's not at the level it should be. And so like when I'm working one-on-one, when I work one-on-one with agents, most agents are not spending enough time in the buyer space. When Michael was earning 250 grand a year, Michael was just showing properties around Redfern, Darlinghurst and Surry Hills. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with 250 a year, but I remember him just showing house after house after house. He'd be there, brochure and the set of keys. I'd leave, Michael would show a buyer, or Michael would leave the office with 2 brochures and 2 keys. Fast forward 5 years or 6 years, all those people who were showing houses to now ring him to sell. So Michael's salary probably went 250, 350, 450, a million, 1.5, 2 million, now 3 million. That's basically his trajectory. And that's what it can be for anybody if you follow that. If you follow that.
But a lot of it is, and it still is the buy work. Like, we'll do 12 deals this month, and probably, I mean, 145 Baptist, 60 Baronia. We'll probably do Riley. Dave will sell Danks. I think we're going to do about 5 or 6 of them off market through buy work.
There you go.
And the rest of them will be on market.
And just while we got you, I think James Collum from Edinburgh, from Dunedin, has a question. James?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Michael. Just a quick question
James.
on just the follow-up of buyers around with Nathan, how you're training him around speaking to those buyers every day. Like, what are those calls looking like each day without being a pest?
Yeah. and I'm not. Like, you've got to let them go and do their own thing. But he does callbacks for me. Or say, for example, I've listed a 3-bed house in Waterloo that's around 2 mil. He'll go and print off 3 or 4 properties that the company has sold recently, and he'll go through and do those callbacks. But essentially, say, for example, he's calling about a new property. Obviously, he's going to call them, say, hey, you're still looking to buy. We've just listed this house down the street. And then it'll be, Like if someone says we're interested in viewing, then he needs to say, how are you going with the search? How long have you been looking for? Have you guys, have you missed out on anything yet? What was that property? What did it sell for? He needs to dig deep and understand all of those things, because then, like if they come through the door, we've got a very good understanding of that buyer, and it just helps. We might have something else for them as well. So he's got to really dig deep with those questions.
Yeah, cool. So they're at that level, and you said you're sort of ringing them every day. How do you keep that? I mean, obviously that's one property, and you can talk about other competitors' properties. So, like, is there anything else?
So for example, like the couple that missed out on Burke Street that came and made an offer on Reservoir Street, even if I didn't have anything, I would still call them every day, because those kind of buyers are going to drop on something. Like Susie and her name's Susie, they will buy something, I think, within 7 to 10 days. So I am calling them every single day. I'll ask them what other properties you're going to look at with other agencies. Have you guys got a contract out on anything else yet? Just so that if I do turn around and I do list something, or I do get in the door, like I know exactly where they're at. If that makes sense. And look, when buyers are in that mode, trust me, they want to hear from you anyway. They're happy to get your call.
Yeah, nice.
Mikey, any other questions about that on the buyer stuff, or I've got a couple of points that I might go to? No. Okay, good. Mikey, vendor, have you found that the vendor management side of things is getting harder?
I don't know. I don't think so. Like I probably miss a lot of properties, because I tend to try and list things correctly from the get-go anyway. So I'm usually very straight up with pricing a property. And I find if I can list them correctly, that's 9/10 of the battle. But in terms of vendor management, look, we make contact every single day. And I find that if you're doing that, say, for example, we have, if I take a buyer through the property before I take them through, so with 124 Reservoir Street, we just sold. If there was an underbidder from a house up on Riley Street I just sold, I would say, hey, NASA, I'm taking through Jake Mitchell. He bid 3.2 on 355 Riley Street. He's a really good prospect. I'm taking him through later this afternoon. I'd call NASA afterwards. If he wasn't interested, say, hey, unfortunately, it's not for him. And I think if you're showing the quality of the buyer that's coming through, what they've bid on, and then you say, no, they're not interested. No, they're not interested. No, they're not interested. Susie and Joseph just came through. They love the property. And they make an offer. Well, like I've done that lead up work without, never have to give any bogus offers or bogus feedback about price. That's something I do not do. I'll just simply say they're not interested. Oh, look, we had 15 groups through from the weekend. No one's wanted to make an offer at this stage.
Good one. You've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
And how do you find your routine? Because it's even harder with kids, right? How do you find, you're very consistent. How do you find, being a father, having that routine with the kids?
Yeah.
Work-life balance, also being
okay, number one, I'm lucky my wife will let me train every morning. So that sort of takes care of, the battle for me. So every single morning I get up at 4:30 and I'll train. Either I'll do I alternate between a run or gym, and I'll train at 5 o'clock, home by 6 o'clock, have brekkie with the kids and whatnot, get them ready. And if sometimes I've got to drop Ollie off to school, but otherwise I'm out the door sort of 7:30ish. But I still, I'll have an hour and a half with them in the morning before I go to work. But for me, it's like I have to train every single day just mentally. And I don't really, obviously I had the 12 months off the booze last year. I have had a drink this year, but I 99% of the time I still don't drink. So the time that I'm not working on the weekends, I get my quality time with the family then.
Yeah. And what time do you this is good, James Montano. You get in about 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And what time do you typically get home, mate?
As a general rule, I probably don't get home too much later than sort of 6:30 as a general rule. Yeah.
That's good.
Sometimes later,
and I
sometimes
should say,
early,
I've
but
got
around
you
that.
to thank. I remember when I was coaching you, or still do, but I think you went alcohol free 2020 or 2021.
Yeah. It was the year of COVID. It was the year of
2021.
COVID. I had
We
the
had a bet
melanoma on my foot. Yeah.
because we had a bet of $500 or something, and you
Yeah.
did it, and I gave it to you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you actually inspired me to go alcohol free in 2022.
Yeah.
I haven't touched a drink since. So you
Yeah.
inspired me, and then I've gone out and obviously
Yeah.
through channels told everyone how good it is and how much more
Yeah.
power, whatever. So mate, thank you. So the lifestyle component's important.
Yep.
That's good. If you have a client, if you have some listings signed and they were signed for June and then they push it back to August, they go, oh, we're not quite ready yet. I think we'll probably do it in August, September. How do you approach that?
I mean, like, again, I'm probably rightly or wrongly. I mean, I just have to understand the situation. If there was a genuine reason why they couldn't go until August, well, there's not much you can do about that. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to do what's right by the client. So, I mean, I would just have to understand exactly why. Like, if there was a reason around kids' school finishing up, we definitely can't, move till then now, or some sort of genuine reason. Well, it is what it is. I mean, you can suggest that, hey, if we've got a buyer between now and then, should we try and get them through off market, perhaps, if you want to. If there's not a genuine reason, well, then I think it's just coaching through that, like, asking the right questions, giving them confidence around your current campaigns. I would update them on what's selling.
You're saying, accept what they're saying. They need to delay it.
I do personally. I do. Like, I've had people that I've been speaking to that have come on with me and then not come on, and it's been going on for 12 months. Sometimes you just got to accept it. There's only so much you can do, and I think, like, if you've got only one or two listings you're chasing, well, then you're going to be a bit more desperate about that. And I think, which is still not right. But I think if that's what you're worried about, it probably means that you need to be getting more balls in the air, I would say, because at the end of the day, you want to be the trusted advisor.
Good one. So you just keep them very close until they decide. Ty, did you want to ask Michael a couple of questions, mate, or did you have a question, Ty, for Michael?
It was actually, I wrote it through just on Ty's computer. It was more so, Michael, about you talking about speaking to your vendors every day. I understand, obviously, days you've got open homes, chat about the open homes, days you've got your privates, chat about them. On the other days, what are you really saying to, I guess, obviously you're not going to be annoying them, you're selling their property, but I guess to keep it quite relevant.
Look, I'll just touch base in the morning. Every single morning, I'll try and touch base with them, even if it's I'm not, it might even be, look, we don't have any inspections booked today, guys, but if that changes, I'll let you know. And it might be as simple as that. If the property's vacant, like, we will be showing the property privately most days. So, and it's not annoying them. It's just saying, hey, Dave's going to pop down and show the house at 2:00 today. I'll give you a quick buzz afterwards and let you know how we go. Like, it's just being just so they know that you're thinking about them every day, because the last thing you want to do, particularly if it's a tough campaign, if you've not communicated with them for days on end, and then all of a sudden you've got a buyer that's not where they need to be, and you've not been speaking to them or touching base with them on the daily, it's hard to have that. They don't have that trust with you.
Okay.
That's sort of that's the way that we sort of approach it anyway.
Thanks, mate. Matty Bell, what's your sales goal for the year, Matt?
60.
And what are you on at the moment?
Nice.
21.
Good work. Okay.
Nice.
Did you have some, mate? Michael was there. Michael was doing 60 sales not long ago. Did you have some questions for Mikey?
Yeah, I did just quickly. So with your hot buyer list, Michael, are they buyer sellers or just hot buyers who have sold with nothing to sell? And do you split them?
Both. I don't split them. They're both. I don't
I just
split
meant
them
amongst the team,
because
sorry.
oh no, I mean we've got a shared one. We do a
Yep.
Google shared doc across the team, so everyone can see the hot buys and anyone can call them.
Yep.
Yeah, and so anyway, all the boys have got access to my hot buyers, but yeah, we don't. There'd be hot seller buyers in there and just hot buyers. Yeah. Only because
Okay.
it is, for me, we do a lot of prospecting around that. So if we're doing just sold calls, like I just find it helpful to be able to have a very educated conversation around a hot buy with off the back of sold calls and whatnot.
Okay. And are you? So is there a lot of notes? Like you're tracking that stuff so that there's not double up, or you figure twice the contact is better than not at all?
Not really. Like we all sit on the same row. It's all open plan. We sit on the same row. The boys know typically who I'm speaking to. I'll know who Dave and Nathan's speaking to. We don't put notes, but it's probably just a bit of awareness across the guys.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And just with your printed stuff quickly, so with your DLs, is that just 1,000 like spreading out from where the property sold, or do you like how many doors in Surry Hills? That wouldn't
Ray,
cover it.
there's streets. Look, actually, there's just streets that I get Ray to drop the same streets every single time.
Okay.
I could probably go slightly larger, but there's streets that I like to target in Redfern and Surry Hills that they go to.
Hit the same one
every single time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's like I said, it's not. It is not. I'm not expecting someone to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, we want to sell with you." It is just awareness, and it does help because if you're layering it with your just sold calls, with a text message, with an email, a DL they're getting. I do a really good quarterly report that Bresic Whitney helped me prepare. And then when I do get into some of these appraisals, like the quarterly report will be sitting on their coffee desk there. So it's just,
nice.
It's just building that awareness.
Yeah. Do you deliver that by hand, the quarterly report, or is that
No,
I
just pay it. There's a lady, Ray, that does it. I think she charges, it's like $50 or $100 a drop. It's the best money spent.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Appreciate it. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, matey.
Pleasure.
Two other quick questions, Mikey. We know how valuable your time is. Thanks, mate. If you've got low stock levels, what would if I said to you, Mike, I'm an agent, I've got low stock levels at the moment, how would you respond to that?
I would say you've just got to go back to basics and focus on the things that you can control. It really, like, anytime I have a down period, because you get so swept up on it, like agents in the office are doing well and whatever it might be, you got to go, fuck that. What is actually within my control to get me more listings? And that is, it might be printing off some old callbacks. It might be making a commitment every single time something is sold in my relevant area in the office, or even with a competitor. I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call that street and tell them about that sold listing. And then it's always buyer work as well. Yeah. And forget everything else. Just be consistent with it, and eventually you'll get back into the swing of it.
You'll get in a groove. Lastly, mate, you used to sell some small stuff, but you seem like you're getting the bigger houses in the inner city.
Yeah.
Has that just happened organically, or did you target the bigger houses?
I would say I target it through buyers. So like I just leverage as much as I could through the buyers. So with 355 Riley Street, we sold for just under 4 recently. You know, I had 7 registered parties on that one, and I just, anyone on my pipeline or anything with something sort of similar, I just touch base and say, hey, you know, I just sold 355 Riley Street down the road, just checking in. Like, I'm not too salesy about it, but hey, we do have a couple of underbidders from that. You guys wouldn't consider a sale, would you? And, you know, no. Okay, cool. Awesome. Good to chat. Speak soon. Yes. Awesome. Let's get them through.
Good one. That's really good. Any other final questions before we let Mikey off, guys, today? That's been really helpful, mate. Thank you. I mean, I think you're a great agent because you've always been pretty honest, hardworking, consistent. I like that you've had incremental growth. Like, no one shoots to the stars straight away. You've just grown and thought, what's next, which is really commendable. I like the team that you've put together. I take away from this consistency, buyer servicing. I take away callbacks and old callback books. Qualifying, I got a lot out of today for the guys, that how important qualifying and asking questions is. Just sold, just listed calls, very similar to what Ballsy does as well, actually. Very similar to what a lot of the high performers do. And also your team structure. I think when Ben was asking about that, I thought that was quite helpful. Trish does this, he does this, Dave does this. I thought that was really good. Have you got many signed for June at the moment, mate? Just looking ahead.
I think we might have around 8 or 9.
So they're good. Okay, cool. So that's going really well. I think we're done, mate. I think we're going to let you go, Mikey. I think you've answered a lot of questions. So, mate, thanks so much for that.
Thank you.
I'll get some feedback from the guys. Congratulations on your success. Keep going. Where do you go from 100 sales? Interesting. Like, if you do 100 sales this year,
I don't know. Like, I feel, I mean, obviously Dave at some stage will probably leave me, so then it'll be back to the drawing board. But I don't know. Like, I feel like we could do a lot more. So I don't know what it is. I haven't really thought that.
He may not leave, because if you're getting
hopefully he doesn't.
He may not leave because he may not leave because if he's getting a higher split and he's getting admin support and you guys are close, then he can stay in the team.
I mean, look, momentum breeds momentum as long as you're staying healthy and doing consistently. Like, it does feel like we could do a fair bit more. So,
But right now, the focus is just this year, which is
no, like we'd like to do 100 if we can, and then we'll go for the next one after that.
Awesome, mate. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for jumping along, mate, and we look forward to seeing your success in the future, Mikey.
Cheers.